All right, we should be streaming now or shortly. You should be hearing it. Oh yeah, you should be. We're going to be talking about Steve King versus Ilhan Omar. Ilhan. Crazy Muslim lady. And it's going to be crazy. You're going to like it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Morning, guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, good morning. I'm James Hake of the Hake Report, and you are watching. It is Sunday, March 10th, 2019. And can you believe it? Another white man goes down as another black woman goes up. So I wanted to talk to you guys about none other than Congressman Steve King, who has been under attack. Oh shoot, hold on. Let me turn down my computer stuff. He's been under attack, and Ilhan Omar is another woman who was kind of under attack, but then not really, because she assumes that everybody who supports Israel is all about the Benjamins and is corrupt like she is. She doesn't support Israel. She pretends to at times, but she's corrupt and immoral and greedy. She shouldn't even be in this country. She was a Muslim refugee from Somalia, and she came as, I think, a kid. And she's been here creating mess, becoming a total far-left Muslim SJW, social justice warrior. She's pro same-sex marriage, pro-abortion, just pro everything wrong. And meanwhile, Steve King is pro-Western civilization. He wants whites to be having babies. He wants Americans to be having babies, but especially whites. And he doesn't want Obamacare to be paying for so-called birth control, which is diminishing the number of children in this country. It is killing the unborn child in the womb, I believe. I never thought of it that way, but it might be the case. A lot of contraception maybe actually kills the baby, whatever. Anyways, and Steve King also wants immigration to be cut way down. He wants, and his high school went from white to Hispanic, totally. He grew up in Iowa, total American, white American, and a Christian at that, I believe. And just kind of brave talking. He tells the truth. He is not necessarily politically correct. He's kind of politically correct, to be honest. And that's part of his downfall, I think. He condemned so-called white supremacy and white nationalism, and they still acted like he was for white nationalism and white supremacy. So Congressman Steve King has been around forever, since the early 2000s at least. And he wanted a wall. He wanted it to be dug down so that you can't tunnel under it, and all that stuff. He's been very tough on immigration, at least in words and in the plans that he pushes. But meanwhile, all of the Rhino Republicans are not with him, and all of the Democrats obviously are not with him. And so he's been under attack and called racist and all kinds of stuff. So the New York Times interviewed Congressman Steve King, and it was they wrote out excerpts from the interview. They did not share any recordings from the interview. They will not release their notes from this interview. But they're asking him about his views, and he talks about how they have changed the language. They have said that they have basically changed the language and maligned the right in the worst possible ways, calling them racist and all that stuff. And then they pitched him some words like fascist and racist and white supremacist and white nationalist. And so he's like white nationalist, white supremacist. And they also say, according to the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a far left group that accuses conservatives of being hateful. And they also accuse a few of the black nationalists of being hateful too, but mainly they go after whites and Christians. They accuse Christians of being anti-gay or hateful towards gays, and they accuse whites of being hateful towards Jews and blacks and everybody else, and Hispanics. Occasionally they'll do something right. Like they pointed out one instance of where Hispanic gangs, Mexican gangs, I believe, were targeting blacks and pushing them out of their own community. It was happening in Azusa, California, just right around here in the suburbs of Los Angeles, and Highland Park and elsewhere, Boyle Heights. They pointed that out a little bit. So that's the SPLC, but they go after anybody who's white and loves this country too. So they're not a good organization. And they said that Western civilization calls for Western civilization and concerns about birth rates and abortion rates and crime rates. Those are all dog whistles for white nationalists. And as if it's some horrible thing to be a white nationalist. Meanwhile, we have like black nationalists who are openly black nationalists and all that stuff. But they go after white nationalists because you don't have a right to be pro-white, I guess. So anyways, the New York Times asked Congressman Steve King about being pro-Western civilization. Is that a dog whistle for white nationalism and white supremacy, stuff like that? So he's all white nationalism, white supremacy. And then he goes, Western civilization, how did that language become offensive? When did that become offensive? Why did I sit in class teaching me the merits of our history and our civilization? Meaning he's talking about Western civilization. But they all linked it together as though he was talking about white nationalism and white supremacy, being pro those things. Which even if he was, who cares? But he's not, and he's like always never been for that. But all the rhinos are for taking this guy down, apparently. And so they kicked him out of his committee assignments. This all took place in January, 2 months ago. They kicked him off of his committees, basically stripping him of his power, of his influence on the government, which the people of Iowa elected him to represent them. And they've repeatedly elected him over and over again by smaller and smaller margins because, as I pointed out, his high school has gone from white to Hispanic. And so no doubt his constituency has gone from white and conservative to Hispanic and liberal, because most immigrants tend to be liberals, and most anchor babies tend to be liberals, and just most non-whites typically tend to be liberals. Useful idiots, suckers for the people that don't care about them or anybody else, that just want to push their own ideology. They're hung up on their crazy ideology, their fake love, oh, I love immigrants. No, you don't. So they went after him and took him out, and they passed this resolution condemning white supremacy and white nationalism and all that stupid stuff. And he even voted for that. He said, oh, this is right and it's just. It's just like a typical white to be so like fair-minded that you're going to vote for your own, the resolution that was prompted by a fake quote from you. Steve King, don't be doing that. So anyways, meanwhile, fast forward 2 months later to this past week, Ilhan Omar has been under attack, and a lot of you guys support her, a lot of you guys who hate Israel, or don't like the Israel lobby anyway, support her, and you should not be supporting her. That's another example of their fake fair-mindedness, because she's not a good person to be supporting. You may agree with some principle that she's citing, but she's citing fake principles. She's not for allegiance to America. She acts like, oh, Israel is a foreign power, and AIPAC is giving the Benjamins to anybody who's supporting Israel. And meanwhile, you all very well know that many Christians support Israel because, I don't know, they're God's chosen people or whatever. And also they've been like an ally for us, allegedly, and all that stuff. And so she comes under attack, but then a lot of young people on both sides of the aisle defend her, including David Duke, by the way. David Duke, he's so excited about anybody saying anything negative about Israel that he'll side with her, and she hates him. But he's just trying to advance that agenda, I guess. So they're going after her, and then she doesn't back down because she's shameless, and she openly supports evil. And then she apologizes. She apologized a few weeks ago, but she said she didn't say what she was apologizing for. She said, "I apologize," but she didn't say what she was apologizing for. She's so fake. And then, so the Democrats are kind of split, and I like how the Democrats are eating each other over this issue. They tend to eat each other over these fake issues, like the blackface issue a month or two ago, when a bunch of people out of Virginia and elsewhere have been dressing in blackface, and they've taken out Republicans over this issue. And one Republican in Florida was taken out. He resigned because a picture of him dressed as a Katrina survivor, as a female, actually, a black woman. It was ridiculous. He should not have resigned. It was ridiculous for him to do it. It was silly. But it was from 2005, I think. And anyway, he resigned, and other Republicans have come under attack. One guy dressed up as his friend in high school. He's like in his 30s. He's a representative. In high school, he and his friend, his black friend, traded places and dressed up as each other. So he dressed up as all black, like his friend, and his friend dressed up as all white, like him. And this is considered blackface. And this is that stupid idea that, anything that ever took place in history that was negative, you can't reference it because it's bad. I don't know, stupid. So, anyways, the Democrats are eating each other over Israel, over racism, over sexism, over all that stuff. And I'm happy about that, but I don't want any Republicans to be joining into this stupid stuff because it's so mistaken and wrong. They went after her, and then she didn't back down, so more and more people support her. And then they passed a resolution condemning what? Didn't name her, didn't kick her off of any committee assignments. They went after her, and then they decided they're not going after her, they're going after white supremacists. They're going to go after the anti-Muslim bigotry. They didn't even just condemn so-called anti-Semitism, which she hates. She hates Jews, and she hates whites, she hates Christians, she hates America, but she pretends to be about America. But they don't go after her, they don't go after the POCs who hate America and hate Jews and all that stuff. They go after the white supremacists, even in this very resolution. And I have some quotes from this resolution, watch. Quote, the resolution says, white supremacists in the United States have exploited and continue to exploit bigotry and weaponize hatred for political gain, targeting traditionally persecuted peoples, including African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, Asian Americans, and Pacific Islanders and other people of color, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, and the LGBTQ community, immigrants, and others with verbal attacks, incitement, and violence. So that has nothing to do with what she's about. It's basically the Democrats taking advantage of a thing and turning it against whites and Christians and Trump and everybody else. And these people are I'm looking at Periscope, all these people are talking about the Talmud and how much they hate the Jews and stuff like that. That's fine. I don't care. I don't care what they're doing wrong. We're talking about this woman. And you're siding with her, you're joining in her attacks on the Jews because you hate the Jews. Meanwhile, you're not siding with what's right. She's wrong. You have to point her out for being wrong. But because you hate the Jews so much, you'd rather be dumb. So anyways, you can call in if you disagree with me or if you agree with me at 888-775-3773. 888-775-3773. This woman is greedy and corrupt. She's as bad as the people that you love to hate. those people, if you hate the Jews, shame on you. But these people, she's every bit as evil, and she's inside this country, and she's a representative, and you're supporting her. What a sucker. Typical white people supporting wrong because you think that it's being fair or something. That's not truth. Truth is not when you hate somebody because they're wrong. That's not truth. Like they always talk about how God is the truth, right? Or Jesus was the truth. He wasn't for hating. He was for calling out evil, but he wasn't siding with the evil people against other evil people. So anyways, so Steve King is right. Make more white babies. And Steve King, by the way, on this resolution, he voted present. He didn't vote against it. He didn't vote for it. This resolution that was prompted by Ilhan Omar, he voted present. So that's a mess. By the way, I wanted to let you know that we had our men's forum this past Thursday night, and I did grab some pictures from it. At our men's forum, we had a ton of people there. It was so wild that I couldn't even arrange them all into one big photo like I normally do. So I just took pictures live. It was a great idea. Thank you to Doug for the idea. And so here's some pictures of them. If you're listening and you can't see, sorry, we'll post them online. We'll post them on Facebook, Twitter, maybe Instagram, stuff like that. But people went around the room talking about how they heard about Jesse Lee Peterson and how they heard about Bond. And it was very interesting. I noticed that the people who have been coming a long time are a little bit different from the people who just recently came in the last year or two or week or first day. Some of them had just come for the first time. The people who came fresh talked about deep stuff, like how Jesse kind of opened their eyes to their anger within or their issues and stuff like that. Whereas, not you, Siri, whereas the people who've been coming for years, like me and some others, talked about how we've been working with Jesse or whatever. And it was interesting to me because it was a little bit, it's kind of like a warning sign where you come into a good place where there's truth being told, all that, and then you just kind of settle in and coast. So anyways, I just wanted to tell you briefly that how I came to find Jesse and Bond and all that stuff. I will get to that in a sec, but first let me get to some calls. Mark, out of Atlanta, Georgia, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
First time
I'm
calling.
just listening in. I was on your Periscope line.
Right on.
I just wanted to make a comment concerning the chosen people of God.
Uh-huh.
My question is this. Where did you get the understanding that these people are chosen? That this particular group is the chosen people of God? Where did that come from? Can you find that anywhere else other than the Bible?
No, not anywhere else other than the Bible.
Nowhere else other than the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, with that being said, how do we determine that these...
Say it again. You dropped off, Mark. You there? We lost him. I'm going to put you
No,
on.
you didn't.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay, what happened just now?
I went under a bridge.
Oh, I see.
By the airport.
Nice. Okay, so how do I determine what? How do we determine...
Other than the Bible, how do we determine as a people, as I guess American citizens, that they have legitimate right to the land of if you want to call it Israel, let's call it Israel.
Yeah. I don't know.
How do we do that?
I don't know.
So what you're saying, since we don't know, we're just assuming because these people claim that they are the people of the Bible, that as Americans, we're supposed to be giving our all to a nation who is constantly putting us at war with many other nations around the world.
I've heard this before. I'm not for going into all kinds of wars. No. And so we're not supposed to give our all, but I don't see any problem with supporting Israel where they're right.
Are we supporting them, or are we, or is it to the point where our own country is lacking? Because that's what the lady Omar was actually talking about. She's saying that basically we are not taking care of home,
right?
And we're giving our all to another nation.
We're not taking care of home because we're allowing people like her into the country and to become elected representatives.
But before her, we've allowed them into the country to control everything. So,
well,
I got another question. The next question I have.
Let me quickly ask: Are you an Israelite?
What would that matter?
I'm just curious.
Why? Because I sound black, so that means that I would be an Israelite, or because
you sound black, and I know that a lot of blacks are into being Israelites, and they say that they're the real Jews, and the Israelites, Israelis are the fake Jews.
I probably could be Arab myself.
But I'm just asking if you don't want to answer, that's fine. But
okay, I prefer not to. I prefer to stick to the subject. The question is this. I wanted to know this. Are you aware?
But if you're an Israelite, why shouldn't you proudly just say, yes, I'm an Israelite?
Because it doesn't matter.
It kind of matters.
The truth really matters here. The truth is that the country, America itself, is based off of slavery, and how you got the slaves was because of those people claiming to be Jews. Did you know that?
I've heard that before.
Slave ships were
but I also heard that blacks participated and Arabs participated. So you only want to blame Jews for something that everybody was participating in.
I'm going to agree with you.
All
blacks did participate, and also the Arab or the sub-Saharan slave trade is still very well and alive right now.
Right.
But guess what?
And America is not based on slavery, by the way.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I'm gonna have to disagree there.
Well, then you're gonna be wrong.
You wouldn't have your. Did you know J.P. Morgan he first started off of slave delivery of body, slave transport? Did you know that?
That's
nice. What about Wachovia?
Who cares about those organizations?
The reason why is because those are multi-billion-dollar corporations today that got their funding off of the bodies of slaves.
I know, but look, listen. A fortune is made and lost in a lifetime. Many times, multiple times in a lifetime. Those organizations are making money not because of slavery, and America is successful not because of slavery.
Yes, it is. I'm gonna have to disagree.
Why was the South poor then, and the North was rich?
It was not poor.
Yes,
the South was not poor.
Yes, it was.
They had
that's why the North won.
No, the North won because they enlisted blacks to fight against the South. Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
No, the South was powerful enough to succeed from the North. The North wanted what the South had: free, cheap labor. That's what this was all about.
The North, they thought that was basically like a plate of boogers. Why would you want a plate of boogers? They didn't like blacks.
They did not. Oh my God, man! You really got to get out of the white supremacist history book.
I learned that from my African American history.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No African American would ever tell you.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, they said, why would you even hang? The North was like the North looked down on the South because they were saying, why would you even hang out with blacks? That's so gross.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they didn't want free labor. That's ridiculous. If they wanted free labor, they would have had it.
The Jewish slave ships brought them over here.
You're getting boring. You're getting boring because you only want to blame the Jews when you're to blame.
Honestly, I don't know why you're not blaming the Jews.
I blame everybody who participated in evil.
Okay, that would be them. They're the head of it, and you're second in command.
No.
They run the show, and you do what they say.
No.
Yes. That's why the world hates
So
you
that-
now. You get it?
No, because
people are
hatred
realizing that you
hatred
all
is
are
evil.
the helm of all the problems in the world. That's why people hate you.
Well, then that's why you're gonna stay a loser for life.
I'm not a loser. I drive trucks. I make $400,000 a year. I'm doing pretty well in your fucked up kingdom.
Okay, I gotta go. What a loser. So making $400,000 a year, blaming people. What a sucker. I wanted to respond to this one comment from De Leon. Speaking of blacks who are stuck on fake history or whatever. I have this actually in here, Joel. De Leon. This was in response to my N-word isn't racist video that I posted months ago. And De Leon, or Dalen, whatever his name is, says, saying racism doesn't exist. So I got into this argument with this caller who's out of Compton, I think, Charles. And you may have to zoom in on that a little bit. And this guy was saying that because I said the N-word in the past, I said it on air one time when Jesse had a black guest on, and Jesse was like, my producer is racist, making a joke. He says things that I wouldn't say. And then I went on there, and this black guy who's all hung up on whites saying the N-word being racist, said, can you tell me the context of when you said racist? I said, oh yeah, we were just talking about N-words just a little bit ago, just this morning. And I didn't really give him the context because I don't remember. It wasn't even serious. But this man says, and I also said that racism doesn't exist. And Charles out of Compton, I don't know if he still listens, but he agreed with me that racism does not exist. But then he was talking out of both sides of his mouth. He was saying racism is evil. And no, it's not evil. It doesn't exist, period. Like, it's either right or wrong. Most of the time when somebody's called racist, they're being called racist for telling the truth. Such as what happened with Steve King. But this man says saying racism doesn't exist is just people wishing to live an ideal world in a reality that doesn't support it. That's like saying all diseases are the same because you don't know the word cancer, and he has a laughing, crying face. Just because you choose to think racism doesn't exist because it fits your narrative is just false. 1, you can't speak for all people. 2, there are people where I live that would proudly tout themselves as racist. White supremacists say they're racist. Why? Because they hate someone of a different race. That alone debunks any argument you come up with. This is this person talking. You're missing the point with the N-word. You're not taking into account any cultural context. Newsflash, the N-word was invented to put blacks in their place during slavery. You do realize that, right? Leading question. The reason it's not as acceptable for white people to say it is mainly because at any point in America's slavery, it was shouted as some people were being lynched, living their last moments on this earth. Why is that concept so hard to accept for you? So hard for you? Why is it that simple, easy to understand notion is so hard to comprehend? Blacks say it to signify you have no power over us. Point blank, period. I disagree. I think you like to beat around the bush and act as if things don't exist because it's easier for you to explain away without actually having to acknowledge any truth. So this person, let's go point by point. He says that some people proudly tout themselves as racist. That just means that they're blind. That just means that they're shallow. It doesn't mean that they are actually racist. A lot of people, and by the way, these white supremacists, most of them would not say, some of them would say they hate people of a different race, but most of them would say they don't think they don't hate, they just want to be separate or think that they're better or whatever, better in certain ways, such as having peaceful civilizations, as opposed to many of the POCs that come in here and are not peaceful and they're not as clean or whatever. So that's not true. Hold on. Anyways, he also said that debunks any argument you come up with. That's not true. You're missing the point with the N-word, cultural context. Okay, the cultural context is not that stuff that happened way back when, because you don't know that that's what they were shouting. You just heard it. In reality, today, present day, people are saying the N-word. The blacks are not saying the N-word to say whites have no power over them. They're just saying it because everybody says it. And then they whites saying it. Most of the time, the whites don't even mean anything by it. It's just slang. It's like a cuss word, but in most cases, it's kind of like slang. It's not even meant to be offensive. Most of the time, it's just saying something, and or it's used as a joke, and white people should be able to joke about stuff. So, and acknowledging any truth. What is he talking about? So that's a mess. People talking about lynching and all that stuff. You're hung up on this false history that doesn't have anything to do with today. By the way, I wanted to point out that Bill Nye has come out in support of the Green New Deal. He says Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gets it. So I was kind of unsure about, believe it or not, I was a little bit unsure about this green. Yeah, Joel, he's still alive. Bill Nye, the science guy. In the 90s, Bill Nye had this cool TV show. It was kind of fun. He was kind of crazy, kooky, funny. And it was called Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill. And so he has come out like ridiculous, gross, social justice warrior-ish. He famously had a debate with a creationist, like a young Earth creationist, named Ken Ham. And that's when he kind of came back into my consciousness in terms of the pop culture. And then he had this TV show that was really disgusting, promoting sexual nastiness and totally making himself to be just gross. And then he's come out on this climate change stuff. He appeared on Tucker Carlson, making a fool of himself on Tucker Carlson, and being sarcastic and being dumb. And then he comes out and he's still pushing this climate change thing, this Green New Deal that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the socialist from New York, is pushing. And now he's saying that she gets it. If Bill Nye says that you get it, then you better run the other way. You better question your life. Question your life's purpose, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Bill Nye is fake news. Nye is a kook. Yes, very true. He's an actor. So it's so sad. And by the way, I have joined Gab's Dissenter. Dissenter.com is a thing that Gab, which is gab.ai, has started. And Gab is an answer to Twitter. It's basically a free speech answer to Twitter. And so I joined Gab when you still had to apply for it. And by the way, Jesse is on Gab as well. And so it's a more free speech platform. And they just came up with this thing called Dissenter, where you can comment on basically any web page, any video that has, even if it has comments disabled, any news article or editorial article or whatever. And the reason for this, the need for this is that many platforms, many big organizations like ABC News and Fox News and CNN and New York Times and all them, a lot of them are getting rid of their comment sections, or they're just a pain to deal with, or else they are very heavily censored. For example, I was famously kicked off of ABC News. I've mentioned this in the past on this show, where there was an article about that cop, the police officer who shot the man in the back. I think it was about that story. He was out of North Carolina or South Carolina. Former officer Michael Schlager shot Walter Scott in the back. After Walter Scott had run from him, Michael Schlager caught up to him. Walter Scott fought him off and started to run again. And they fought over the taser too while he was fighting him off. and Walter Scott may have had the taser. You could definitely hear the taser going off, even in the witness cell phone video, where there was a black guy who witnessed it and took cell phone video of it, of the fight, basically the end of the fight where he ran and got shot in the back. And so Michael Slager shoots him in the back like 6 or 8 times or something. And there have been many instances like this. And so they're putting all the blame on the officer and none on Walter Scott for running and fighting and running again, and even allegedly fighting over the taser. I said something to the effect of the worse blacks get in terms of fighting with cops, running from them, and all that stuff, the more perfect cops have to become. The more is expected of them, which is like ridiculously unreasonable. Because I'm not for shooting the guy in the back, but back before the 70s, you were allowed to shoot fleeing suspects. You were allowed to shoot them. And then the Supreme Court struck that down. But it all happened so fast type of a thing. I think maybe he should have gotten manslaughter. I think he was convicted of murder, and I think he's in prison for I don't know how long. But anyways, the point is, the worse blacks get, the better cops have to be, meaning the more perfect training. Like, they need more training and all that stuff. They need de-escalation tactics, meaning the more out of control the society gets, and mainly it's happening with blacks because it's very disproportionate that blacks are resisting arrest. Like, they resist arrest at like 8 times the amount that others do in certain areas. Like, I think the San Francisco Gate reported that up in the Bay Area. Blacks were resisting arrest at a rate 8 times that of other races, I think whites. And they kill cops at 4 times the rate or more that per capita that other races do. Like, they're 40% of cop killers over the last 10 years. That was a number from a couple years ago. 40% of cop killers in a span of a decade were black, when blacks are 12% or 13 or 14% of the population. So that tells you that it is out of control in the black community, but they're acting like the cops are out of control. And cops probably are getting more and more out of control, honestly, because the society in general has gotten more and more and more out of control. And cops are not just whites. And actually the white cops are less likely to shoot errantly shoot an unarmed suspect than the black or Hispanic cops, according to like this survey or research experiment done. I think it was out of Philadelphia. And I don't know if it was a test or if it was stats that they gathered, but the numbers are actually that the white cops are not the ones who are shooting these blacks errantly or whatever. It's actually disproportionately the black and Hispanic cops that are more trigger happy. So it's all propaganda against cops. And so I say this: the worse blacks get, the better these cops the more perfect these cops have to act. And ABC News banned me from commenting. And so to this day, I'll have to use dissenter in order to comment on any ABC News articles. I don't know why I would be reading any ABC News articles anyway, but they are mainstream media. MSM. And MSM is a troll word, I heard. And I say that because Google has been trying to squelch trolls from, I think it was maybe Facebook actually. Facebook was trying to squelch trolls from from having influence on their platform. Facebook being a big social media site. And one of them suggested they filter words such as MSM and other normal conservative using words, making them out to be trolls and basically like logging them out after a couple of minutes automatically and basically frustrating them so that they can't have influence over the rest of the world, whatever. basically attacking their freedom of speech. And so dissenter is a good, it seems like a nice idea. I don't know how effective it'll be. Some people are more excited about it than others. We'll see. People are definitely going after it. They're calling it a white supremacist platform and all kinds of stupid stuff. So, anyway, before I get to the story from the men's forum, I want to tell you about Trump. Trump went after Ann Coulter, referring to her as a wacky nut job. And this came out, I think, Saturday, or I think it came out Saturday. I saw the alert from the tweet because I get tweet alerts from President Trump. He referred to her as a wacky nut job, saying she doesn't understand how much the Dems undermine his efforts, as well as, sadly, many Republicans. I think I have the original tweet, Joel. I haven't kept up with what she's saying, but I remember after the State of the Union, she was not happy. And I really liked Trump's State of the Union address. What else? Here it is. Wacky nut job Ann Coulter, who still hasn't figured out that despite all odds and an entire Democrat Party of far-left radicals against me, not to mention certain Republicans who are sadly unwilling to fight, I am winning at the border. Major sections of wall are being built. And he went on and on. I think he had another tweet or whatever, but that's the only one I captured. So, I love Ann Coulter. She's the one who kind of red-pilled me, for lack of a better word. Red pill meaning showed you what the truth really is. About the fact that immigration is so important. What did she do? She came out with this book called Adios America. It's pronounced adios. That's how she pronounces it. And it really pointed out the fact that abortion, same-sex marriage, whatever else, all Black Lives Matter, all that stuff, all those things are propped up by the fact that we have unchecked immigration into this country, and especially illegal immigration, but all immigration. And she says that because, well, everybody already knows that most whites are the only ones who most of whom vote conservative. Most of the rest of them vote liberal. Most of the rest of the POCs, people of color, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, Muslims, all them, vote Democrat. And basically that's a power shift. The immigration is a major power shift, illegal immigration included. And the illegals have anchor babies who are considered Americans, and yet they don't have American values. They have socialist values. They get indoctrinated, as many whites are getting indoctrinated in these schools that are leftist. Schools have been leftist for a long time and against America. So she kind of opened my eyes about the fact that it's a really important issue. And I knew that Jesse was right, and when he said that illegals, it's wrong for them to be coming in here. He broke it down to a basic right and wrong. Jesse being Jesse Lee Peterson. Shout out. So she has been Trump read her book, and he became very strong on immigration, but he's his own man. And she's maybe been a little impatient. She went after him after the State of the Union. I don't know exactly why. She cited a bunch of his quotes about immigration, and if we don't have borders, we don't have a country, and all that stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, I trust Trump. He's doing right, and he's proved himself to be more stable and more effective than anybody. And I'm talking about Steve King, whom I really like. I'm talking about Ann Coulter, whom I really like. All these people have been around forever and speaking out forever. But what change has happened? Things have only changed for the worse. Whereas Trump has only been speaking out since 2015. He's been speaking, but he hasn't really come out forcefully I mean, he's been saying pretty good things forever, but he was pro-abortion at one point and all kinds of stuff. So he was not this conservative hero for all these years, like all these people have been. Ann Coulter, all these Republicans that we thought were good. We used to think that some of you already knew that these people were not good, but some of us used to think that Paul Ryan was like a Tea Party guy. No, he's a rhino. So, and then some people are saying, yeah, read the spending bill that Trump signed into law. He's no longer strong on illegal immigration. I don't know. I honestly, I don't care about that. I trust him. We'll see. You may be right though. We've been wrong in the past, to be honest. Like, I used to think Reagan was good. Maybe he was, but look at how far the country slid after him. And he did things that weren't right either. Like he gave us, what did he give us? Amnesty. And then we didn't close the borders. So I see what you're talking about, but what are you going to do about it? I still trust Trump more than the people that are kind of going a little crazy. When he says wacky nut job, and you see how she's like overreacting to him, in my opinion, overreacting to him, I think he has a point. He's kind of branding her. And so she better shape up. And if he's wrong, then yeah, he better shape up. But I think that he's going to do right by us. I think. I'm quite sure. The wall is going to happen, for sure. There's no doubt in my mind about that. The wall is happening. Because he would not have made that his central thing and then turn around and not do it. It's happening. So the people that are acting like it's not, whatever. Kathy Kinney says on Facebook, rap music keeps that word out in the world today. Very true. If blacks wouldn't use it, whites wouldn't be tempted to use it. Because whites never heard the word N-word, except for with the taboo of it. And then when you make it taboo, you make it very tempting to use. Swinder on YouTube says, no cursing, is this church? That guy was getting too vulgar. Yeah, we don't allow cursing. It's not church, but this is a family-friendly platform. So yes, no cussing. If I have a guest on who just happens to cuss a lot, maybe I'll let it slide, I guess. I'm not sure. But I don't care. So JS 7882, the spending bill allows border cities to veto the wall being built. LOL. What's so funny about that? Yeah. So anyway, let me tell you briefly about Jesse, about how I came to Bond and stuff like that. And then a little bit about the men's forum. And then I'm going to tell you about J.Lo and A-Rod, a little bit about them. I don't want to judge them, but they're doing it wrong. And all the wrong people are celebrating it, acting like they're engaged. Anyways, I'll get to that in a second. But I first came to Bond because I heard about it through word of mouth. I had known that there was something wrong with the way that the Christian life has been portrayed to me. And I knew that, for example, you're not supposed to continue to sin. I had read that in the Bible, and then I'm being told by authorities or whatever, people who are Christians, that we will continue to sin and we just have to do our best. I'm like, that's a cop-out. I didn't like that. And finally, I come across somebody who's like saying, yeah, you are wrong, and there is hope to actually change. And so I visit that person's church, and I happen to be out of town. And one of the people who also attended that church told me, hey, you're from LA, you should go to Jesse Peterson's church. He's great. He's just whatever, blah, blah, blah. He didn't say he's great, but he said something positive about him. So I came out to church when I got back into town, and Jesse was out of town, so somebody else led the service. And first thing I noticed was there were men in charge. And normally I was seeing like at the other church that I was going to, which is a nice church, conservative, all that. But it seemed like I kept on seeing women in charge, and the men were, yeah, they were there, and the head pastor was a man. But it seemed like women were kind of taking over and it just didn't seem right to me. And so it was nice to see men leading the service even when Jesse wasn't around. Like Patrick was there, and he said he kind of shamed the people for not showing up when Jesse was out of town because somebody else was leading the service, so it's not as exciting. A lot of people will find Jesse entertaining, and other people they think are boring. And whether that's true or not, there's always something to learn, was basically Patrick's message before church. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. Somebody's actually speaking up about wrongdoing and stuff like that, rather than just going along, getting along, and going along with what's wrong. And so this other man leads the service. And so I come back the next week, and Jesse's there saying his stuff that you guys all love him for. Telling the truth, you're wrong, but you can change, stuff like that. And it's not salvation is not a process, and all that stuff. And he said stuff to me that I didn't really understand at the time. He offered me a job. I didn't take it because I was just starting to work for a different company. And then like years later, I was still going to church. I was volunteering sometimes. I was helping man the camera. And then I was offered this job because Kelly, the previous producer, who's now the producer of The Fallen State, was going to be teaching the Bond Leadership Academy. So that's just a little bit more details about how I came to find Jesse. Meanwhile, all these blacks, like this guy that made it a big scandal that I said the so-called N-word on air in front of Jesse, thinks that I'm like Jesse's boss. These black conspiracy theorists think that I'm Jesse's boss and I'm his brains and all that stuff. Nothing is further from the truth. In fact, most of this stuff that I think that I thought of, but then I actually go back and I heard that he actually said it first. So anyways, whatever. Let me go to some calls before we wrap up. Jeff, out of California, how you doing?
I'm good. It's always an honor to call the Hake report.
Thank you. Are you the one who drinks mimosas?
Yeah, and today, because of, I think the children of the lie are behind this daylight savings time.
Oh, yeah.
It throws off the working man, and I'm so out of it that I forgot about your show, and then until the last second, and then I don't even know if I'm going to be able to go for mimosas today.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a conspiracy by the children of the lie because they know that Democrats don't work, so they don't care about the clock change, and the working man, conservatives and Republicans, they get messed up. So it's we really need to change this.
Yeah, you know what, though? I think Marco Rubio, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I heard that Marco Rubio is for, and Congress may vote to get rid of, no, they'll vote to get rid of standard time and we'll just stay with daylight savings time. That's what I heard.
Right.
And that means that we're going to stay sprung forward. We're going to spring forward. We sprang forward to this morning, right? Because it's going on 10 o'clock and it should be going on 9 o'clock, right?
Right.
But I heard that they're going to change it so that it stays on daylight savings time. So I think there are children of the lie on both sides because Marco Rubio is not necessarily a child of the truth, I don't think. I could be wrong. Anyways.
Well, do you know that the Monday after this change is the number 1 heart attack day in America?
I heard that, yeah, heart attacks. I forgot about heart attacks and car accidents. Such a shame. Everybody stay home.
Yeah, it's working men, and the Democrats, they want unemployed people to be okay and more working people to be dead because that's who's going to vote for them, non-working people.
Wow. That's very cynical of you, but you may be right. Who knows?
Yeah. So I didn't hear your thoughts on this Ilhan Omar lady, but I do not have a problem with her calling out Israel. I do have a problem with people calling her anti-Semite just because she asks why we give so much money to Israel every year.
I don't think that she's anti-Semite because I don't think that that thing is a real thing. But she does hate the Jews. She hates the Christians. She's been for divestment of Israel, and then she pretended to be against divestment from Israel. And divestment means like, I don't know. I don't even understand it. But basically, it's what the Palestinians are all about: divestment from Israel and the Occupy Wall Street. So whatever she's saying about Israel, some of it may be true, some of it may not be. But my point is, the good people should not be siding with her just because she's maybe saying something true in your opinion, you know? Because in reality, she's a total hypocrite. She's not for America. She's a Muslim Somalian refugee for all the SJW stuff. Like, all the worst things that you can think of, she's for. And all the things that you're against, she's for, you know, basically.
So I agree with that.
So,
and I agree that all Muslims hate Israel. They don't want Israel. And I agree she's biased, but I also agree that we give way too much money to Israel every year, like way too much money.
Maybe so, yeah. I'm not taking that away from you guys. I'm just saying that it's a mistake to defend her or act like she has a point when she does hate Jews, you know, and she's evil. I think I think any weapon we can use to bury these people, meaning hang them with their own rope. Like if they believe in racism, let them hang each other with racism. Hanging each other meaning like make them resign and stuff like that. She's never gonna resign. She's too shameless. She's a POC. She's a woman. She's young and energetic and whatever. But she's angry and hateful. So anyway.
No, she is, and they won't. It actually helps right wingers because she's so radical.
Yeah.
And this is one of those issues that'll tear Democrats. They can't have somebody talking crap about Israel. You know, Jews are, you know, Israel's generally been a pro-democratic party, except for when Obama made that Iran deal and the Israeli prime minister came down there.
It's ridiculous that I heard from somebody that Jews vote 70% Democrat. That is so wrong. And maybe it's not year after year. Maybe it was only in the Trump election. But they're basically, as smart as they are, they're useful idiots too. Just like most people, period. So. Oh,
they are useful idiots. And because they know, because they have more white guilt as Jews than white people do. And,
they promote that. Okay, anyways. Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Yeah.
There's people like Tim Wise who came out with this book called White Like Me, and he's debated Jesse before, I guess, but he will not come back on the show, and he's promoting that white guilt nonsense. And then another woman, there's another woman that Jesse kicked off the show. It appeared in Savage Moments when Jesse was singing the chicken song about her running out. Jane Elliott. She's another woman who was teaching white guilt to the white children as like a 4th grade teacher. And she acted like she loved MLK and all that stuff. And it's just a mess.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeff, nice to hear from you.
Okay. All right,
care.
I'm going to try to go get mimosas. You have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Take care. Robert out of Kansas, how you doing?
Hey, how are you, man?
All right, how about you?
Oh, dude, I'm doing good. Great show today.
Thank you.
These Jews working with these Muslims are going to take over the country, man. It's the same thing happened in Europe, and you know the Jews open the gate, the Muslims come in, they start breeding and voting.
What a mess!
And pretty soon you got Sharia law, which is, you know, anyway, it's just a whole pattern, man, and it's something that if we don't see it, it's going to happen, and it's basically they use it as a sword.
Robert, do you love the Jews and the Muslims?
Yeah, I love them. I love everybody. I'm just saying that if you know what Sharia law is, you know that you can't accept that into your culture, and they're going to start saying that Sharia law is protected, and it's really scary because that's how it starts.
So you wanted to know something? If I'm a flat earther,
Oh, are you a flat earther yet? I called before and
No.
asked about flat Earth, and I was going to see if you had done
No,
your
I haven't.
homework yet.
I hadn't looked. I hadn't done my homework yet. No.
Okay, well, get a telescope and go look, and let me know what you see.
Okay.
But yeah, if you notice the Muslim lady, the black lady from Africa, she comes over and says Jews are bad, right? And then the Jews are like, oh my God, and then they write the bill in Congress, and all it says is white people are evil, and so
Right.
are Christians, and it's like, what the
I
hell,
noticed
man?
that.
It's obviously the Jews and Muslims working in concert to destroy white nations, to destroy Christian nations. That's what their plan is.
All right, Robert.
And they're okay.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
All right.
All right. Bye. Samuel out of Sweden. How you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm doing great. I have nothing to complain about.
Right on.
now.
I have 10
Yes.
seconds. 10 seconds. Real fast.
Okay, I just wanted to know what your experiences have been after you started to listen to Gasoline Pitch with your Christian friends and Christian, in Christian life, because my life is wild when it comes to.
I'll
my
tell
Christian
you.
friends.
I'll tell you that it's like a nice reminder of the truth. Hearing Jesse and other people tell the truth, and but it's a reality that you just have to live it. If you're not living it, then it's not going to do you any good. Anyway, Samuel, nice
Okay.
to hear from you. Take care.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, bye. Catch Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. Go to rebuildingtheman.com/church, rebuildingtheman.com/church. And, oh, by the way, Giuseppe said, God bless you, brother. And the wall going up said, yo, Hake, the wall going up. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next week. And what's that? Giovanni. Oh, yeah, Giovanni, not Giuseppe. Thank you, Giovanni A. So subscribe to Bond Rebuilding the Man. We're uploading old shows, too. And also we're putting up old stuff on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Jesse's been around forever. All right, guys, take care.